survivor of intense domestic violence. I've been diagnosed with 4 mental illnesses, and I am chasing a miracle. Good evening, Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests. 1 in 3 women in BC has been or is being assaulted by their spouse. Those numbers aren't satisfactory to me. They're way too high. 13 years of my life were spent with abusive spouses. I've lived it, survived it, come through it, been changed and impacted by it. Let's talk about impact, ladies and gentlemen. Listen to that word, impact. Something that changes you forever. In 2007, I was involved in a very intense court battle, trying to protect my children and I from an abusive ex. Through this battle, I was pregnant with my youngest daughter, Destiny Justice Faith Nicholson. I named her that because I wanted to name her after the 3 things I believed in the most. My anxiety levels were so extreme that I could barely function. I vomited every morning without fail, up to 3 times a day. I was crying most of the time. I was constantly analyzing what I had done wrong, what I wasn't doing right. I was driving myself into a frenzied state while pregnant. Due to this emotional state, I had difficulty eating and sleeping. I suffered from insomnia and many other psychosomatic symptoms, which are physical symptoms that you endure due to stress, such as ulcers, headaches, backaches, tremors, fainting, etc. This court battle went on for a very long time, keeping me in a state of hypervigilance, or fight or flight mindset. Approximately 1 to 2 weeks after my daughter was born, this pressure, the culmination, caused me to hit a very low state of mind. I usually prefer to be a positive force, but I couldn't cope with the situation anymore. At that point, I gave up, mentally, spiritually, physically, and emotionally. I couldn't go on. I don't believe in suicide as an option. To me, it's 100% wrong. I was raised by parents that taught me that if I do that, I go to a bad place. So, I spent an evening locked in a bathroom by myself, crying my heart out, begging God to take me in my sleep because I couldn't go on for even 1 more day. And if he wouldn't do that, I asked him to take my soul and do with it what he wished. The next morning, I began to write. And when I did, something inside me unlocked on a huge scale. The more it unlocked, the deeper the writing got. The deeper the writing got, the more ill I became. It came to a point, a culmination, where I had not eaten or slept for 2 straight weeks. I fasted unintentionally, surviving on orange pico tea for those 2 weeks. I suffered from malnourishment and sleep deprivation severely. I was committed to a psych ward in a full-blown psychotic break. I was in the psych ward for 10 days in ICU, put on a huge dose of antipsychotic medication and tranquilizers. When I came out of the hospital, I started writing again, and I did not stop writing until I felt it was the end. My focus then became this. Putting this manuscript together, this focus helped me regain my life, because up until that point, my mind was so deeply fractured that my thoughts were scattered all over the place. I had even lost my short-term memory. I used this manuscript to focus my thoughts and channel them into something that grounded me, that I could touch. I'd like to take a few minutes to talk to you all about mental illness. I've been diagnosed with 4 mental illnesses. Today, I would like to share 3 of them with you. First is adult ADD. It makes me very restless, hyper, and almost childlike at times. I get scatterbrained easily. I love doing any kind of project, but I get bored easily by them. It has to entertain me and keep my thoughts engaged. I've been diagnosed by a forensic psychologist as intolerant of boredom. Second post-traumatic stress disorder caused by traumas, abuse, and violence that I've endured in my life. There have been too many painful or frightening things. These situations, due to the intensity of them, I now have an illness where I can be triggered in my memory. And when I'm triggered, I have flashbacks, which are intrusive and feel as painful as the moment they happened. I have learned to control the flashbacks through meditation. The third disorder is psychotic disorder, not otherwise specified. This means that my psychotic breaks, I've had 2 now, are triggered by my environment and are short-lived. They are treated by my antipsychotic medication, which I take now every day to ensure my mind doesn't fracture that deeply again. I've accepted this as part of being who I am. I never want to experience psychosis again, so it is my responsibility to accept my diagnosis and treatment, take accountability for my own environment and symptoms, and strive to understand my limitations and work within them for the best future possible for myself. Part of living with mental illness is the realization that you cannot control the world around you. You must choose instead to be calm in the midst of chaos. I learned this through therapy, lots of it. A lot of people believe that being diagnosed with a mental illness makes them defective. This is not true. They are not defective, they are special. When a psychiatrist gives you a diagnosis, they're doing it to help you, not to hinder you. I've had many friends over the years with mental illness, as well as myself. I believe that if people were to change their perceptions of mental illness, they would realize that each individual is their own person, and sometimes the illnesses you suffer from make you who you are. They make you unique. My medication helps keep me level in traumatic and stressful situations, which are a part of my everyday life. I can now endure a stressful week or a big life change that would have broken me before, but now I can get through it and I'm okay. I learned through recovery that I need to be patient with myself. I'm only human. Before the psychotic breaks happened, I was so locked up inside that I couldn't function anymore. I felt like a caged animal in my mind. When the psychotic breaks happened, it allowed me to blow out all of that pain and deal with my subconscious that I hadn't been able to receive treatment for before it happened. I tried to think of it more as a breakthrough than a breakdown. I was conditioned throughout my life to just blindly obey. I had lost sight of how to be a person and an individual. I was so used to being a puppet with different masters. I've realized that I'm a nut, but I'm a nice nut, damn it. Chasing a Miracle. As I've shown you, this is the title of my book. With me opening up my mind and soul to you, trusting you, and exposing to you my flaws and weaknesses, it's not weakness, it's a strength. If I have the courage to open up and admit that I have mental illnesses and tell you how I cope with them and deal with them, that becomes an inspiration to others that have illnesses as well. My dream, the miracle I'm chasing, is my future. I want to create a legacy for myself and my children with a career based on the empowerment and liberation of other women and teen girls that have gone through exactly what I've gone through and experienced similar situations. I want to empower women from all over. Women from adversity, oppression, abuse, mental illness. I want to bring them up to a level of self-awareness where they can say, it's okay to be me. I want to create Domestic Violence Anonymous, a nonprofit organization. I want to become a motivational speaker, an inspirational author, and perhaps have my own talk show one day. I have a lot of ideas, and Toastmasters, I hope, will enable me to empower myself first, in order to set the example for the women I am to motivate. With the book I wrote, I had it in a bookstore within 6 months of writing it at at $40 a book, self-made. I realized, though, as it was written through a psychotic break, that it was meant to be shared, not sold. So I took it off the shelf. Now, when I meet a new female friend, if she wants to read it, I share it with her. If she touches my life, I try to touch hers with my book. I aspire to inspire. In closing, my name is Sherry Ann Walker. I am a mother of 7, a survivor of intense domestic violence. I have been diagnosed with 4 mental illnesses, and I